Where are you going? Where's you going? Where are you going? Oh, what you're trying to do? What? Just kidding. Like she Blaine, if you can make your way up here. It's annoying. Okay, everyone, we're gonna get started this morning. For folks that might be new today, I'd like to reintroduce myself. My name is Jennifer Irving. I'm an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux Tribe. I'm the current deputy director at Thunder Valley Community Development Corporation, but have taken a few days off to help serve in this capacity of emceeing this event. Today, I've asked one of our council representative, Blaine Little Thunder, to render our morning prayer. So if you can all set some time aside for our Creator, I'm going to call up Blaine. You can take that off
Oh, trokaerti hiani waste chichaktelo. Ja, wakoto makoche gesapa yochlate. Ja, hibinat. Wati dona hibina opila tronkalo. Ele makocho kitrab yochlate, gesapa yochlate, uyukupia. Hiani waste chichaktaba. Naja, oche kiakal yochlate, wachi kiabna, ja. Oke očeke jochlati, ja. Hojo ek donka, ja, očeke jochlati, ja, niza. Lokulaki, ja, očeke iza ječakokt. Oja tewa kantrakat kasla. Hati topi jochlati, na machpi joko no joen kasla. Ja, trokaerti, hieni was te pet was te weka, mela wopila loon, ja. Dat no, ja. Meneer Jacob jochlati, meneer Wichoni jochlati, ja, mama khashkana. Ontima kha jochlati, wels meneer Jacob na. Opera tranka ichiche, ja. Dan petu ke omanichi yank to kai trokap tronkasla, ja na tiata kanya tuktekte, ja. Ochoyate kuzana ha. Akijana, wazon, uchokuze. Na jochlati tronkasla, tewa kantranka. Ushwichakina, Eichakatrana, Pichan, Chozani Chakya. Chozani, Woishki, Yotachi, Wakana, Wakanja, Trakozaki, Kakizabla, Natronkashla. Ushwichakina, Pichan, Chozani Chakina. Washagwicha, Tronkashla, ya. Oyatuna, Washigalon, Yokshicha, Happy, Unachia, Happy Seche. Ushno Chai, Oichakina, Stami Chaki Pakina, Bleheli China, Washagwicha, Tronkashla. Apile amonikte. Ja, petu ki omanichi yank to kai trokap trokasla. Ja, oikcha washteste abalesiana. Oyate ki tuktona ta yuashtuk ta hechi wachinche trokasla. Ushon oich onkana oyate ki yochlate wogena chozana oikchana wabaleze yochlate hoyu alot trokasla. Kolon petu ki chichas osha hoichi chapel. Omitaku yasi.
Thank you so much, Blaine. Now, let's get down to business. What do I have to do? Oh, yeah, okay, I remember now. Sorry, had to look at my notes. Yesterday we highlighted some of our sponsors, and again, events like this don't take place without friends and without fellow organizations and folks that share the vision and the mission of events like this. And so I'd like to call to the stage Eileen Briggs of the Bush Foundation to share some of her thoughts and perspectives about this event. So please help me in welcoming Eileen Briggs from the Bush Foundation.
Thank you. Hiani Washte, good morning. I'm really happy to be with you all today. I am coming to you today as a representative and a new staff person at the Bush Foundation. I've spent the last 14 years working at home at Cheyenne River with my tribe, and it's been just really exciting to join the Bush Foundation and their work that they have been dedicated for the last 10 years or so in this region, which is their giving areas, the North Dakota, South Dakota, and Minnesota, and the 23 Native nations that share the same geography. And this work that they've been committed to Native Nation building has really started because of their commitment and conversation to tribal leaders in the region. And they have really shaped, you all as tribal leaders have shaped the direction that the Bush Foundation has taken to invest in Native Nation building. And this event is one of the events that I was really happy to come across my table as one of my first projects that came in my new role, and I was so excited to see it happen, and I'm so happy to see you all here today. And yesterday was a great start for conversations that really need to continue, not just amongst yourselves, but with your families and the communities that you serve. And our commitment at the Bush Foundation really is around helping the region solve its problems. And the world that we all live in and love in our communities, economic development is this word that our relatives said yesterday, really is one like, how do we get our head around that? And what does that mean? It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And I think that the conversations that we've been having here have really set a groundwork. And I just want to commend the committee and the group of people to put this conference on. I want to thank the tribal leaders and say that the Bush Foundation continues to support Native Nation building through a lot of different areas. We have rebuilders. There's almost 150 rebuilders, 52 of them here in South Dakota. And if you're a rebuilder, raise your hand. Higher, come on now. No, we have a lot of great people that are taking steps forward to learn more about these governance issues and some of the work that we talked about yesterday. And I just want to say, just in closing, that the whole thing that I've been learning about the Bush Foundation is that they are very much, and now I'm starting to say we, but that we are focused on equipping, connecting, and inspiring change and better decision making for the region. And I feel like the kind of roots that we're building for ourselves with this kind of convening really sets a groundwork for the kind of future we can make for our children. So I want to say thank you, Wopila, for inviting me, and just say that much, and thank you and hope you have a good conference today. Pilamia.
Eileen said she felt just at home with all these cowboy hats in the audience. So I was like, I know. Again, let's give the Bush Foundation a big round of applause. Without their contribution, this summit may not have been possible, or it may have been possible. We would have all been eating bologna and potato chips. So we're really thankful to the Bush Foundation for their generous contributions to make this event happen. So before we get started, I just want to do a quick poll. And yes, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, and you're going to love it, and it's going to be great. So how many of you learned something new yesterday? Awesome. I'm looking at you, she kind of. Is that how you vote on council floor? Just real quick. Hey, just kidding. How many of you met someone new yesterday? How many of you are going to apply some of these new teachings when you get back home? How many of you heard new gossip? Just kidding. No. Hey, told on themselves. Now I want to hear. I'm going to sit next to all you people. All right. Well, last night I had a great opportunity to share some dinner with some of our tribal leaders from around the region. I learned a few new things about their reservations and some of the work that they're doing. I also learned a few new approaches around economic development, and it was really a great evening spent learning and in laughter. This next person I'm going to bring up, he's actually going to introduce our speaker, and it's Chairman Brandon Sazu from Crow Creek. I learned last night that he is a Snapchat extraordinaire. So if you could help me welcome President Brandon Sazu to the stage, and he will introduce our speaker, Lance Morgan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brandon Sazu, Sr. I am chairman of the Crow Creek Sioux Tribe. I am currently halfway through my third term as chairman. I started out when I was 34 years old, so I'm 43 now. Well, when they asked me to speak, when I first started out, I always wrote things down and, read off a piece of paper, but now you could just let it flow normally, and it comes from the heart. So I'll tell you a little history about Crow Creek and economic development and our investments. I see some young boys here. Those are our investments for our future. It's good to see you guys here this morning. Thank you for being here. And by investing in our children, by investing in everything, that's how we keep economics flowing in our communities. Because without them, it wouldn't be possible. I'll tell you a little bit about Crow Creek. In the last few years, we've gone from nothing to something. And it didn't happen by one person. It happened by people standing together and working together. We got the Hunkpati investments where our people can go over there and put in for small business loans and do credit building and home ownerships. So I really commend them, Tally. I commend you guys for that. She's also a member of the Crow Creek Sioux Tribe. And also we're getting a dollar store. Wow. Who would have ever thought it would take 3 years on a reservation just to get a dollar store? Now why 3 years? Because sometimes we're ourselves are our own worst enemies. We can't make up our minds. Councils come and go in 2 years. Some are wiped out. Unfortunately for us, we got 6 council members and a chairman. But every 2 years we're wiped out. So we can't keep the economics flowing. And sometimes when other councils come in, they want to wipe out what you're doing just because. And that's a big negative on Indian country and a lot of our tribes. But with good leadership and good people, we can keep those things striving. Back in 2008, when I first became chairman, wow, I couldn't believe the state our tribe was in. Dealing with the IRS coming after us, taking our land. Man, it was something else. Here I come, I was a dorm matron going into the biggest elected position on the tribe. But by grace and fortitude to move forward for our people and to fight for our children, we were able to persevere through that. I wore a wire for the FBI. I sat out in a blizzard for 3 weeks protesting the IRS. It took a lot, and it still takes a lot. But those are the kinds of challenges we face in Indian country by doing what you can because it comes from your heart, not because it comes from our pockets. But on the other hand, it does take money to keep economics going. Sometimes it takes a lot of money that we don't have. And we put in for grants. But those grants, we all have to fight over them to see who's the best, and the best person gets the grants. That's not fair. And now even more so with the Trump administration, we got to fight even harder. You got to unite like we've never united before. Because if we don't, we're going to cease to exist. Because the United States government right now, you hear talks about them trying to get rid of the reservations. We can't allow that to happen. That's why we got to put all our differences aside, no matter how long we've been fighting each other on our reservations, to fight for that one common goal, and that's for everybody. You know, growing up, when we're children, brothers, sisters, cousins, whoever, you fight against each other. Oh, I don't like him, I don't like her. But as soon as somebody else picks on your brother and sister, everybody's right there. You know, that's the way we need to be right now, more than ever. More than ever. So with Crow Creek, we do have wind energy development. We live by one of the biggest substations in America. So we do have a good place for wind energy development. In 2012 to 14, we got a wind energy grant for, I think, $172,000, $176,000, something like that. And we didn't even qualify for grants because we're on high risk status. We didn't qualify. We don't have our 638 contracts. They were retroceded back in 2005, 2006. But because of how well the grant was written, out of like 60 some tribes put in for the grant into the Department of Energy, like 20 some tribes got it, and Crow Creek was the only tribe that got that grant, a wind energy grant. Blew my socks off me. I was like, wow. But in 2014, when I didn't get reelected and the grant came in, poof, it went up in the air. It sat stagnant for 2 years. So in 2016, I was elected again. By December 4th of 2016, we got a Met Tower up. A Met Tower is wind energy data tower. That quick. It could have been up 2 years prior. So sometimes for whatever reasons, we got to stop fighting each other just because of whoever won. Whoever won was elected because the people elected them. Whether it was they handed out the most money or whether it was because they were the most popular, it doesn't matter. Our elected government is our elected government, just like the United States. People don't like Donald Trump, but they elected him. Man, I still don't know how that happened. Pretty crazy. But you know, that's our tribal governments. That's how we run. So we got to keep going with what the last councils did before us. So after the corruption subsided in 2008 to 2010, when I wore a wire for the FBI and did this whole sting, and out of it came indictments on the chairman, vice chairman, secretary, treasurer, bunch of other people. Out of all that, we learned something. We learned not to be like that. We learned to stand together, whether we liked each other or not. We learned to work with each other. We learned to move on. Because if you bring those types of relationships into your councils, you're not going to get anywhere. It gets you nowhere. I've learned it the hard way. You get elected, you get unelected, the new council comes in, they're not going to hire you for anything. That's a fact. That's the truth. Let's not be like that. So what I've seen us come from was absolutely probably in the hole to now we're getting by because we're working together. And that dollar store I was talking about, our vice chairman, Kyle Kirky, has been working on it for the last 3 years. Why did it take him 3 years? Because of politics. Some people in the community going into council meetings and not wanting it. Well, it's only gonna give you a few jobs. You're not gonna make any money on it. Wow. What is that all about? We have to drive 20 miles to Chamberlain or 60 miles to Pierre to go shopping. There's a dollar store in Chamberlain making a killing that don't even honor our honor songs, that won't honor our honor songs, won't bus our middle school and high school students. And here we are spending all our economics in Chamberlain and Pierre and the surrounding areas when we could be doing it at home, helping our people, helping our children. You know, what's wrong with us? For some reasons, people get mad at us and they want to hold grudges, and you know, we got to look past that. I told them people right in a council meeting, I don't care what you say, we're going to build it. So we should have a dollar store coming up here in about the next month. 3 years for a dollar store. Wow. It shouldn't be like that, but it is. You know, back in the 80s, 90s, when gaming came into play, that was for economic development. Casinos. Okay. You know, we thought we were going to make a killing. Didn't happen. Crow Creek is able to provide on average of about 100 jobs. That helps the economic development in our community. But it's all about location too. Most of our tribes are located out in the middle of nowhere, where maybe only the surrounding areas come through. So you make just enough to pay people's salaries so they could pay their bills and feed their children and live. We're not able to get per capita payments out there, kind of like some other tribes do. It's all about location, and we're not as fortunate as them. And when all we've been doing is fighting for the last couple hundred years to survive. All we want is to move forward. All we want is what's rightfully ours and what's rightfully belongs to us. That's this land and this water. Standing Rock. Did it have an effect on their economic development? Make up your own mind. You know, that opened our eyes to a lot of things. Yesterday we had the comment period on the EPA. We were only worth 5 minutes. A human being was only worth 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the rest of our lives, whatever time we have left, because they want to destroy the earth. They want to destroy the water. But oh, we put restrictions on it. Don't even do it at all. So in February of 2017, we had the Spirit Riders from Standing Rock, the Crow Creek Riders, ride to each and every one of your reservations to ask you to divest from Wells Fargo, to divest from those companies that are invested in big oil. And they did. They did. So I can honestly tell you right now, Crow Creek is halfway divested from Wells Fargo. We will divest. Here's the kicker. Wells Fargo is acting just like Donald Trump. Last week we tried to get payroll through our school, and we moved half of the accounts over to the bank across the street, Great Western. We couldn't do it. They had to go in manually and do it. Oh, okay, this is the problem. Oh, there was a problem. There wasn't no problem. They were acting like kids. Those are the types of things we face as Native Americans, as human beings, but we need to be better than that. Persevere. Move forward. Get a bank that will help you, that will do better for you. All the years we've been at Wells Fargo, we only make about $400 to $500 a year off the interest. And that's only our school. We have $8.9 million a year. Guess how much we're making at Great Western? $8,000. Big difference. Big difference. We would never have known that if it wasn't for Standing Rock. So everything is commingled together. Investing in our children, investing in our schools, investing in different banks that helps you. I had the chance to meet with the Bush Foundation a few weeks ago. We had a great talk. I told them mostly what I'm telling you here today. I have no reason to be dishonest. You ask me something, I'll tell you the truth. So they gave us a $500 grant. Yeah, I kind of joked about it, you know. Hey guys, I got us a $500 grant from the Bush Foundation. But that $500 will go a long way. And it's not going for Crow Creek. It's going for all the people that are in prison. For about almost the last year, I've been visiting the Jameson Annex in Sioux Falls, visiting all our prisoners in there. I'm the only leader going. I want to encourage other leaders to go visit your members there. Every 3 months, they have a powwow, they call it. They call it a cultural event. I'll send you flyers. Go visit them. Talk to them. So with this $500 and what we were talking about is doing a documentary on those prisoners. The prisoners can tell their stories to the children's and to the kids in the school. Don't go to prison. When I first walked in there, I was standing there with lifers. I didn't know it. I thought I was standing next to human beings. One guy comes up to me in a wheelchair, tells me the whole story about Lakota Holmes. And he says, you see that guy over there on a drum? He's been in lockup for 21 years. He just got out. It's like, wow. So with that $500, I'm going to buy a video camera, and we're going to do a documentary and try to put it in the schools to help the kids. Don't go to prison. Thank you. This next speaker I'd like to introduce is Lance Morgan, President and Chief Executive Officer of Ho Chunk Inc. Lance Morgan is President and Chief Executive Officer of Ho Chunk Inc. Morgan launched Ho Chunk Inc. in 1994 as the Economic Development Corporation of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. Morgan earned a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Nebraska, BS 1990, and graduated from Harvard Law School 1993. He is a member of the Minnesota Bar Association. Morgan is an enrolled member of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. Thank you.
He was just getting warmed up, I thought. I was trying to see where he went with the story. But you guys, I've got a lot to go over. So I've got a lot to go over, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. If we could dim the lights on this a little bit, it would be helpful, I think, so I can do the PowerPoint. I've been on the road for maybe about 12 days. And I've been modifying the same presentation over and over again. I did it in Alaska, I did it in Boston, and I'm going to do it today. And it's really, it's about the company, but it's also about what we're trying to do from a social standpoint. And there's a couple of videos in here. One's 5 minutes, the other one's 5 minutes. We're only going to play 2 minutes of it because it's repetitive. I'm going to talk, and I want to show the impact of what we're doing. I'll talk a little bit about the company. I'll talk about what we're doing with our town, the Ho Chunk Village. That's got the 2-minute video. And then I'll just give some insights to what we've been able to do in the community with what we've done. And then I'm going to end with I called them very helpful suggestions. And primarily targeted towards probably Pine Ridge, but I think everybody could use some insight, I think. And I talked about them a little bit last night. So if we could go to the next slide. I'm just going to jump into it. The mission of Ho Chunk Inc. is pretty simple. We're about job opportunities. We're not a job. You don't just get a job, right? You get an opportunity for a job. The other part of our mission is economic self-sufficiency, where we can create money for the long-term hope of the tribe. And I used to sort of think if we just created a job, it would work. But I realized that trickle-down economics probably is not right. It doesn't work on the reservation because you have so many other things that are wrong. And it's taken me about 20 years, but when I was in Alaska, someone asked me a question. if you want to change one thing, what would you do? I said, the problem with changing one thing on the reservation is you really have to change everything because you have so many problems. And what we've been trying to do in Winnebago is attack as many problems as we can, not just Ho Chunk Inc., but the tribe itself, working with the other tribal corporations. We'll talk a little bit about that too later. But I think it's important to understand that there is not a single magic bullet, that there's just lots of things that have to be dealt with to have even a chance of success. And if we could do the next slide and play the video, that'd be great. This is 4 minutes. I might say a few things here and there in it. This is propaganda, by the way, we use to sort of get government contracts about how great we're doing for the people. And so I'm kind of the hero in this story, just so you know. I like to play the victim too, but not in this one. It's on the bottom. Nope. I can do it. Village. We're doing a flyover of it. You could pause it. Somehow I knew this was going to happen. This is the old days. That's a Chipotle. What we're saying right now is how it was rough back in the day, something like that. I think I heard something. This is usually where I tell my only Indian joke I know. What do you call an Indian man without a woman? Homeless. It's true. This is saying we got kicked around the curb a little bit. The video says at one point that they gave us, and I got mad and we haven't changed it yet. I said, they didn't give us anything. Our reservation. Let's see. Without the video, it's really going to be a difficult thing, just because it in the timing restraints, it says so much. Just keep it playing. I'll just edit it. Yeah, this is. I always wonder about this girl. This is the old town of Winnebago. Why don't we just get it back up and play it, and I'll just talk it. I've seen it a dozen times. we just play it and I'll just talk it through? Can you make it go full screen? It's not even on the other side. It's okay, guys. Let's.
Test, test.
Oh,
Okay, I'm trying. But take that out.
somehow I thought this would go better.
Go ahead. Go, put it back in.
I only drove 6 hours. You guys, I really don't care anymore. We could just,
It's okay. Do you want to just get the power?
yeah, get the PowerPoint up.
Get the power.
That's what I tried doing, but
HDMI somehow it's blocking the audio. The computer. There's got to be volume.
okay.
Really undid volume.
I just tried something new. Can you play it real quick? That's not gonna work.
You don't have anything feeding into the thing. There's no noise feeding into it.
The HDMI is
Not through this. Not through the
Oh,
VGA.
how the hell do you?
VGA doesn't have sound.
Oops, sorry. I'm gonna plug this back in. It goes directly into the feed.
I try to set you up with a USB cord. And the audio should play out.
The audio cords hook right up to the laptop light.
Because it's trying to feed, the sound's trying to feed out of the HDMI. It's adapted to the VGA.
This is a lot easier speech than I kind of thought it'd be. I've got lots of jokes. That was my best one, though. Let's see.
It's all right. It's all right. We're done. You can take your computer back. It's all right. Thanks. Where is it? Right over there.
I'm not even there, but I bet you that download will go anywhere from 5 to 6 months.
Just to transfer it over.
That's what they're doing right now.
It doesn't take that long. It's a couple of minutes.
I'm watching it right now.
It's stuck.
I don't know idea who the person is.
Yeah, I wish we had something.
I'm with the radio. Probably be a good idea to do it now. Or fill up this.
This dead air. Okay, we're gonna try to figure out what's going on. We're gonna switch a computer, I think. If there's a doctor in the room, just kidding. If there's an IT guy in the room, where? You're the IT guy, Arlo. I will take this time to remind people.
Welcome to Ho Chunk.
Oh, there it is. Yes, we are live streaming, and we are actually on Keeley Radio. So fix your hair, fix your makeup. We're being broadcast live on Keeley Radio. I think we're about ready, so folks can turn your attention back to this way.
This is
We're ready.
overhyped video. This video is now way overhyped.
Yeah.
So it's got to go back a slide. Let's play it. They're going to give me a little extra time, apparently, so we'll figure this out. It's on the bottom. Just click the bottom part of it. It'll work. Nope. There we go.
Welcome to Ho Chunk Inc.,
So loud.
the Economic Development Corporation of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska. Ho Chunk Inc. was launched in 1994 to help bring job opportunities and self-sufficiency to the Winnebago Reservation.
It's solar powered
But
on our roof
before
there.
we can
Look.
examine the economic impact of Ho Chunk Inc., it's important to first understand the historical journey of the Winnebago tribe. It was an unwilling journey that took them from being a thriving culture to poverty and discrimination. The Winnebago tribe's original homelands were in what is now the tri-state area around Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. However, by the mid-1800s, the United States government had forcibly uprooted the tribe and moved them no fewer than 5 times around the Great Plains. Finally, in 1865, they were given a small reservation in rural northeast Nebraska.
That will
But
change.
by then, the
given,
damage had been done. Those forced moves resulted in a loss of culture and livelihood for tribal members. Over the next 100 years, the Winnebago tribe struggled to develop an economy. Joblessness and perpetual poverty plagued the reservation, along with the many problems poverty causes. By 1990, there was 40% unemployment on the reservation, and 43% of reservation residents were living below the poverty level. In 1994, Ho Chunk Inc. was launched with $9 million of seed money from the tribe's small casino.
It's our house office.
President and CEO Lance Morgan
That's a recent
began
picture.
it with a dual objective: to provide job opportunities for tribal members and to generate new revenue for the tribe. Under his leadership, Ho Chunk Inc. has grown to an impressive 1,200 employees with operations in 24 states and around the world, and $260 million in revenue. More importantly, Ho Chunk Inc.'s success has become the cornerstone of major economic and social improvements for the Winnebago tribe, both on and off the reservation. Ho Chunk Inc. also developed a master plan to boost prosperity and progress on the reservation. The company has launched an internship program that provides tribal members with real-world business experience as they pursue their college degrees. The company funds a college scholarship program and a variety of educational initiatives for children from preschool through high school. To solve a major housing shortage, Ho-Chunk Inc. invested in a modular housing company. To help tribal members build good credit, a pre-owned auto dealership was launched. An investment was made in a regional bank to provide mortgages. In 2003, the corporation broke ground for Ho-Chunk Village, a 40-acre mixed-use development to build a new community on the reservation. For the first time in the tribe's history, tribal members could now realize the dream of home ownership. Tribal members are eligible to receive up to $65,000 in down payment assistance to make their dream a reality. In 2015, Ho-Chunk Inc. commissioned an independent economic impact study by Ernest Goss and Associates in Omaha. Their findings were startling. In addition to Ho-Chunk Inc. creating jobs for tribal members in multiple industries, there has been a dramatic increase in prosperity on the reservation. Education has improved, with 12th grade enrollment growing by 93.3%, significantly improving the previous dropout rates. The number of adults holding a bachelor's degree or higher has skyrocketed by 239.1%. From the year 2000 to 2013, the average payroll per worker on the reservation soared by 167%. Median household incomes went up by 61%, while the poverty rate dropped substantially. Furthermore, between 2010 and 2014, Ho-Chunk Inc. produced $8.1 million in wages on the reservation. And every 20 jobs added globally by Ho-Chunk Inc. funded 11 new jobs on the reservation. From 2000 to 2013, home ownership climbed by nearly 5% on the reservation, nearly double that of the region, and median home values increased by almost 30%. From 2000 to 2014, Ho-Chunk Inc. contributed $53 million in dividends,
That's our daycare
taxes,
center now.
and donations to the Winnebago tribe. That contribution had a $100.7 million impact on the reservation. The Goss Economic Impact Study also measured Ho-Chunk Inc.'s impact on the entire region. The majority of Ho-Chunk Inc.'s workforce is non-native, and the company employs over 1,000 people off the reservation. From just 2010 to 2014, the economic impact on wages was $127 million in Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Impact on average yearly jobs created was 746. In that same 4-year period, Ho-Chunk Inc.'s total spending was $364 million in the region. Recently, Ho-Chunk Inc. has made major multi-million-dollar investments in real estate development in all 3 states. These developments will have major impact on the quality of life for the entire region. Revenue will flow back to build more assets for the tribe. Ho-Chunk Inc.'s mission continues to provide long-term economic self-sufficiency for the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska.
All right, we got it. Whew. I'm clapping for that one. You guys, that's a little bit of a propaganda video, but the one part I don't like is when it says the majority of our employees are non-native. That's true. We have 1,200 employees. We only have about 750 working age people in our community. And between the tribe and the casino and Ho-Chunk Inc., we have a couple thousand jobs. So we actually have more jobs than working age people. We have a lot of people that don't have a job still. But that's for usually other reasons. We're also about 15 miles from Sioux City, where they have a 2% unemployment rate. So jobs aren't really our problem. It's getting people to the point where they can take the job and do the job, right? And I think that's the biggest challenge that we face right now. And a lot of that's social. I'll go through these real quick. These are our offices. The first office was our house. First, it was actually my apartment. Then it was a house. The tribe had bought this whole mission, this old mission complex of lots of empty buildings. I said, hey, can I have an office? They're like, no. So they gave me the front yard, and so that's where Ho Chunk Inc. is now headquartered. And obviously our office building is in the middle there, looks a lot nicer. But we've got the bigger building up there now in Sioux City. If you drive through Sioux City, it says Ho Chunk on top. And I made the comment when we first bought it, I told this story last night, where somebody said, we're not gonna like having an Indian word on the skyline. I said, what, of Sioux City? I said, like Iowa. I said, you could, come on, it's gonna catch on. Like, I also said she could move out too. Anyway, we have a big office in Washington, D.C., and we have a large office in Bellevue, which is really just a suburb of Omaha that does government contracting. But we really have smaller operations all over the world. Next slide. This is Ho Chunk Inc. itself. The Winnebago Tribal Council is the boss. They appoint the board of directors of Ho Chunk Inc. A couple council members are on our board out of 5, and then the rest are community members. And Ho Chunk Inc. itself is a holding company. It doesn't do much. But each one of these slides, the first one is just sort of, I call it overhead. The second one is our housing and construction company, and that's combined probably about $45 million in size. The next 2 are government contracting entities. The first one is service-oriented, and it does about 100 plus million a year. The next one does about 60 million a year. The next group is our tobacco-oriented, I believe. I can't quite see it. And that's about 60 million. And then my eyes are getting bad. The capital group is our real estate, and then we have all our stores, which are about 30 million. Each one of those lines would be the largest minority company in Nebraska. And combined, I think we did well over 200 million last year, but we did another $70 million in revenue from one Ho Chunk Inc. company to another that we didn't count because we fill in the gaps. Like for example, we have a store, but they buy their gas from one of our subsidiaries. They buy their cigarettes from our distribution company who bought it from our factory. What we're trying to do is fill in all those economic niches. The chairman recently mentioned the dollar store that took 3 years to get. I had the same problem. We've had ours for about 10 years, but I basically had to convince them to do it to come to our reservation. Now I think it's the largest volume dollar store in their system for the 3-state area. So just to give you a sense of what's happening. But this is the group of companies that we run. Next slide. This is the revenue. In 1995, our revenue was $400,000. By the end of 2015, it was 250-ish million. It dropped down in 2016, primarily because of our tobacco business having legal battles, but and a few other things. But either way, in about a year and a half, we will cross $3 billion in cumulative revenue since the day we started. And to give you a sense of, I can't even imagine that number, how poor our community was. We had no economic track record to speak of, and now we're able to create a sustainable sort of entity. I always tell people that 95 to 2000, that at the bottom, was really hard, right? And so there's a part in the middle where we don't grow much. We were actually fighting with our tribal government, and we stalled out for about 3 years. Once we sort of settled that and were able to get back along, you can see what happened on the growth curve. Go to the next slide. Here's the profit side of it, too. You can see this large snowball effect going downhill. Just so you know, the Winnebago tribe let us keep all of the capital that we made for 5 years. Then they created a dividend of 10%. And then it went to 20% and it stopped. So last year, or in 2015, our dividend was $3.1 million to the tribe. And the first dividend was $15,000, to give you a sense of what it does. We also do about $600,000 a year in taxes because we've owned all the businesses so we can implement tax revenue. We do that primarily to kick out the state taxes, to be honest. We're sort of into preemption, not exemption. That's our motto. We've got lots of mottos. And what we're hoping is if we can have some visibility and keep investing that capital, then over time we will continue to grow this line. We'll continue to grow the impact. The tribe gave us $9 million to start. That's a lot of money. We had won it in the casino battle. But the tribe also put $15 million into an investment fund at the exact same time. The tribe has about 20-some million, low 20s in that investment fund. But our $9 million has returned an average of 42% a year since the day. It also created 1,200 jobs, built a town. We have 150 million in assets. And so that's the power of capital if you can get it into play. Next slide. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more into the town. We had desperate need for housing. We only had IHS funding to build about 3 houses a year for the infrastructure, and we were graduating 20 to 30 people a year from high school. We didn't have enough capital to do this scattered site, so we had to create an attractive community. Nobody wanted to live in our community, so we had to create density. So we did sort of a new urbanism style planning where healthy, walking, walkability, you can play in the yard. We want to do an old style town. We can add culture elements, those sort of things to it. And it also allowed us to sort of build up a middle class. One of the things, most of the problem on our it's not most of the problem, it's just a problem. One of the problems is that we have, most of our houses are low income. So if you get a job, you have to leave low income housing or it puts a cap on it. There was no place to go. So a lot of our people, one of the ironic side effects is the better we did, the more people left the reservation. And in order to vote on our reservation, you have to live there. And so what was weird is, our strange result is the better we did, and that combined with welfare reform off the reservation led to the poorest segment of our population being the only voters. And so we wanted to rebalance our community by creating more of the middle class, and that's one of the things we did. If we can go to the next. We're going to play 2.5 minutes of this. It's more detail on the
Welcome
village.
to Ho Chunk Village, a remarkable and successful vision in community development and rural economics located on the Winnebago Indian Reservation in northeastern Nebraska. Ho Chunk Village was first conceived as a partnership between the Winnebago Tribe and Ho Chunk Inc.,
That's
the
our little Main
tribe's
Street.
economic
Notice the
development
sidewalks
corporation.
everywhere, the culture
It was
exhibits.
started on 40 acres with the bold ambition to create more opportunity and modern, affordable housing for tribal members. In short, Ho Chunk Village was introduced as a way to break the generations-long cycle of poverty on the reservation and replace it with self-sufficiency and prosperity. Ho Chunk broke ground on this ambitious project in 2003 with little more than the Ho Chunk Village blueprints designed by national consultants and architects, and the faith of the tribe. The infrastructure was quickly completed, and since then,
Mostly with
Ho Chunk
grants.
Village has grown exponentially. An impressive mix of residential, commercial,
building is totally
and industrial
solar-powered with the
property
red roof.
surrounds a beautiful recreation park with walking trails and a memorial statue garden honoring the tribe's clans. Thanks to the ongoing investments and efforts of Ho Chunk Inc., the vision of Ho Chunk Village continues to grow and thrive. In our newest residential community, a partnership with Dynamic Homes has resulted in dozens of single-family and multifamily housing, a senior living complex, and buildings containing a mix of residential apartments and retail businesses. However, Ho Chunk's vision goes well beyond constructing literal bricks and mortar buildings to improving lives on the reservation. The plan also includes a housing down payment assistance program funded by tribal taxes and the annual corporate dividend from Ho Chunk Inc. This fund gives up to $65,000 in assistance for tribal members wanting to buy a home. This is a new reality that would have been an inconceivable dream on a reservation just a couple of decades ago. Yes, the future looks brighter on the reservation, thanks to Ho Chunk Inc. For the first time ever, families who have spent decades living in federally subsidized government housing can own homes. They can build wealth and assets for the future.
Those are our elder
They
housing.
can provide a growing, stable environment for the next generation. And they can do all this while creating a new, vibrant, exciting, and dynamic community for which tribal members can be proud.
We can stop there.
However, the members of the Winnebago
Can we go to the next slide? You guys, something that I think is important to mention is that a lot of our mindset, if we had to build a house, we had to build the road, we had to build a house, we needed $200,000. We were never going to be able to impact our reservation fast enough. And so what we did is we created all these programs that were designed to match dollars. So if we give somebody $65,000, the house costs $200,000 to build, well, that's about a 3-to-1 match or so, right? And then the mortgage system pays the rest. So we don't have to come up with all the money. But the person has to get a job, they have to get their stuff together, and then they can apply for a mortgage. The reservation is the only place in America where people say they want to get a house, right? Every place else, it's buy, rent, something like that. And so we're trying to use the normal system. Ho Chunk Village is not in trust. You can put your house in trust if you want to, but nobody has chosen to do so because they like owning it. So there's property taxes. We are building homes on trust land too, but so it's a combination of things. It's just a little bit different process, a little bit more difficult to do so. I think this is worth mentioning because a lot of reservation towns, if you don't do this, you're dead. There's a town called Walt Hill next to us, and somebody asked me about it, and I said, that town is already dead, they just don't know it. Because you can buy a home there for $15,000, but to build a new home would cost $200,000. So there's no way you're ever going to get a mortgage for that $200,000 home because you won't have the valuations. The tribe's bold effort to put this money in the down payment assistance program created a real estate market, dealt with the valuation problems, and so now these houses are coming in valued at $200,000. And so you don't have to get a mortgage. You can, if you want to put 20% down, you can get a mortgage for $160,000. But actually, they're getting mortgages for $120,000 or $130,000 because these houses, the down payment assistance is so huge. And so it was the only way to get a real estate market going. We had a picture once in a slide where we have one of my employees outside a for sale sign on the res. Like you don't see that, right? So we created our own economy. We also bought an interest in Liberty Bank, and I said any Indian that comes in here, make sure, just for your purposes, they're the tribal chairman's nephew. Right? And so we have a bank now. We forced our employees to start using direct deposit so we don't have to go to the store for everything. We quit becoming a cash society. We started the used car business because people were exploiting our people. And so we wanted to fix that. We also are the largest shareholder in the Native American Bank now, so we continue to sort of push down that path. The other thing that we've done is the tribe challenged us to build, they said 200 houses in 5 years. I changed it to 100 because we'd only averaged about 9 a year. And so we've got to, we're about to hit 50 in 2 years, and I'm not sure how I'm going to get to 100. I don't know if our tribal chairman is still in here, but he was in here earlier. He's always pushing me on it. But I think we can do it. And I also said we're going to build 100 housing lots. And I'll show you a picture of it. But we're adding, the Ho Chunk Village is about full. These pictures are out of date. It's actually about full. And we're going to add another 40 acres to it to double the size of it. We bought the land Monday to do that. So that's Village 2.0. Let's go. I won't spend a lot of time on this, but we had to create our own workforce. You know, we have a lot of non-Indians working for us in very technical jobs. Our Native Americans often will find something. We have to sort of extrapolate. All right, what can they do? All right, what are they good at? Can they become this? Right? But what we're really hardcore looking for are accountants, marketing executives, salespeople, and people with technical skills, which we don't necessarily have. And so I went to an interview for a guy who's got a master's degree in accounting, and he wanted to work for our office in Omaha, and he's a Native American. He wasn't a tribal member, but they said, "You're here at the interview?" And I said, because I usually don't go to accounting interviews. And I said, "Yes." I said, "My advice to you is just don't punch somebody in this interview, and you will get this job," right? He goes, "Okay," because, I mean, we're desperately looking for professionals. But in order to do that, we have to go back and create them from scratch. We have the EduCare, which is 0 to 5. We have grade school efforts. We have high school efforts. We have internship efforts. In the beginning, we were just picking off the top, but we realized that's not enough. We've got to nurture it from the bottom all the way to the top so that more people come out of our system. We haven't really got superstars yet, but we're getting lots of really good players. And I think some of those could evolve into superstars. The reason we're looking for superstars is because I'm getting old. Let's go. Next one. We started a nonprofit corporation, which is interesting because we're Ho Chunk Inc., but it provides supplemental capital for all of our projects in the town. We have raised $43 million. A lot of that money goes on Ho Chunk Inc.'s books. And so if the corporation only has so much money that we have to grow, if we can find grant dollars to supplement some of our growth efforts, some of our economic activity, it's really good. There's a couple of buildings on Main Street. 2/3 of that money was raised by 4 grants. The rest of it we put in. But that allows us to rent the space out cheap to entrepreneurs, and it allows our corporation to get discounted rates too. So we benefit from it, but it also builds the community. We have this general rule that you better do one thing a year or you're going to get fired. Right? Because people don't care that Ho Chunk is an international company. They don't care if we make $1 million or $10 million or lose $1 million. They might even be glad we lose $1 million just to say, "I told you so." Right? But what they care about is, are their lives better? And so when Ho Chunk was smaller, we would try to do 1 project a year. Now we've got about 4 or 5 projects going on. And the nonprofit itself is working with the other corporations in town to act as sort of a cut and paste room where they can get together, plan. We decide who's going to go for this big grant this year, who's going for ICBG, who's going for this grant, what can we do? Can we work with housing on this? Can we work with the tribe's planning department? And we also have something called the Ho Chunk Community Development Fund, which provides matching dollars and comes from for any good idea in our community for projects. projects. And so we have all these tools and assets that we can use to help stimulate the growth and development. They've also become a CDFI recently. Oh, and Ho-Chunk gives them $150,000 a year just because. Now, this is a deeper thing, and I'll just touch on it. Most tribes are a one or two institution entity. The tribe, maybe the tribal college. In Winnebago, we accidentally started creating more entities. We have the tribe, we have the college, we have the casinos, we have the smaller casinos, we have Ho-Chunk Inc., we have a new land company, we have a housing entity, and all of these are quasi-independent entities. And our tribal council, they change, right? They come and go over the years, and we changed, probably a couple a year on average. But the strategy at the corporations never quite changes. It tweaks, it moves up and down a little bit, but there's never these wild fluctuations. And so these corporations are 24/7 entities. And those are what's driving a whole lot of the growth. The tribe sits at top, sets policy, hands out some budget money, and then the rest of it just sort of happens. Sometimes not great, but it's happening. And that's been one of the keys to the drivers of Winnebago. And what it's done is it emulates the outside economy. The government is really owns all of these, but they function more like about a third of the economy, which is what happens on the outside. If you think of these companies as the private sector or maybe the public sector, then we really look a lot like the outside economy, the economic model. And that's something that we didn't plan, it just happened. But it's driving all the growth in Winnebago and innovation. Next one. How you act when you're rich is different than when you're poor. We're not really that rich, to be honest, but we're rich compared to where we were. I always say we're the best of the poor tribes. But to be honest, I would rather be the worst of the rich tribes. But we were kind of like crazy acting when we were younger. We were dodging taxes, selling cigarettes, doing gas, making the AGs. Every AG that touched our state was mad at me at one point, or we're suing, right? And I know people here, we fought the battles back in the day. I can see some, right? But we always were the middleman. We always were trying to work an angle. But now that we've got some capital, we're buying the asset. We built the cigarette factory. We're building all these things. We're building hard assets. They're harder to take. I told my board of directors one day, I said, we're going to do all this investment in real estate. It's going to be harder to take. And they said, oh, yeah, they'll never take our land. I was like, we got more lawyers now. So we have changed a lot, our strategy. Let's go to the next one. Now, next one. I'm going to do these quick, guys. These are just pictures. We're building a town called Flatwater Crossing. Nebraska means Flatwater in Oto. So this is actually in Sioux City. Go to the next one. We're going to go these quick. This is a 200 acres that we bought. There was a stinky pork plant across the river, and so once they tore it down, we bought all this for development. Go to the next one. And this shows you a little bit of a sky view of what it is. It's the square part here, and then this long, narrow part here along the river. We're selling lots for like $100,000 to $150,000 a piece on the river there. Winnebago tribal members can get a discount, but mostly it's for it's selling to non-Indians. That money goes to the reservation, and that helps fund the $65,000 down payment. Everything we rent on the reservation is discounted $200 to $400 a month compared to what we would do in Sioux City. So there are absolute benefits to it. We can build 1,000 housing units there. It's going to happen over the next 15 years. Here's what's crazy is the city's going to give us all the taxes back for the next 15 years. We own the land, we sell the lots, we invested, we have a Keller Williams real estate franchise. Every house that's sold, we get money off it. Every loan that's made, our bank makes it. Every house built comes from our factory, or from our housing company called Bluestone Homes. If there's a long-term apartment, we will own it and get the rent. So we have created a perpetual job machine, a professional income machine for the next 15 to 20 years, just on this 20-acre thing. This is a controversial thing in our community. How come white people have houses, but I don't, right? I mean, and I get that. I think it's a fair criticism, but we're building a lot of houses for Indians too. But but this is going to be a hard asset. It's going to be something we control for 50 years, and it'll create a lot of jobs and opportunity for people. We're building 38 houses this year. I gathered up the entrepreneurs and I said, who can do the roofs? Who can do the decks? Who can do the siding, right? And they all said they would, but we're not having much success on that. But we're trying, right? I said, the other day, there was some non-Indians building a deck on one of our townhouses. I said, damn it. And so I made it somebody's job to track down the entrepreneurs in town and get them that project. Next one. I'm going to show you some pictures. And then I just took pictures on my phone. I dropped them in. This was built in 96 pieces from our housing factory. It kept 115 guys working that winter. And it looks like this now. And when we build these little boxes, we're always trying to make them not look like boxes. And I said, hey, I watch HGTV. Boxes are cool, right? So let's embrace it. And so we went boxy. And we have this very contemporary. And we rent these out for about, I think, $1,100 or $1,200 a month. And it's in a ritzy neighborhood called Dakota Dunes in our area. And we bought these buildings downtown, and it's called Virginia Square in downtown Sioux City, not far from the Ho Chunk Center. And this is just taken from my car from the Come and Go parking lot a couple weeks ago. But it's not quite done yet, but you can see it's happening. Next one. See those top two towers? We sold the other end condo for $650,000 to a rich guy. And so it's just crazy what's going on in our little world. This is another apartment building across the street. We have a fancy restaurant going in the bottom there. I thought this picture was cool at night. We have the best staircase. This is some other stuff we got going downtown. Here's what's weird. In that one, we have a brewery, like one of those microbreweries going in there. And I mentioned it to the board that we're going to own a microbrewery, and nobody cared. So we'll see if it comes up later. This is inside the Ho Chunk Center, our office building. It's just things are getting weird. This is our coffee shop. This is how we function together. The Ho Chunk Village is developed in combination with the nonprofit, the tribe, and Ho Chunk Inc. They all work together, and we sort of bring them together. The tribe has been really supportive of whatever we ask for on the grant side of the equation. The nonprofit does the work. Ho Chunk puts in the theory, the money, and the village is all there. The beauty of the village, guys, is that when you go to a res, there's like nothing, a row of houses and a big building, and then nothing, a big building. It doesn't go together very well. And that's because you get money randomly and you say, where do we put it? In Ho Chunk Village, we still get money randomly, but it has a place, so it looks like a cohesive whole. And when it comes to fundraising, it's a lot easier to pitch that you're a part of something bigger, right? It's a walkable community, so it helps fight diabetes, a health component. There's space for entrepreneurs, so that if the grant's for entrepreneurs, we can do that. There's housing for elders, so we can go for that. There's low-income housing, we can get the tax credits. There's real estate for home ownership, we can do that. There's cultural elements, we can fight that. So at one point, we had got 17 grants in a row. That hasn't worked that way lately. People don't feel as sorry for us as they used to. They're on to us. All right. This is, and we switched up to sort of a modern style. There are like super cool apartments above here, all loft-style apartments above this. And my law firm is in there, enrollment's in there, and then we're going to build another coffee shop right there inside it. So you can get healthy soups and salads, and if you want to get your caffeine fix for about $3 or $4, come on in. Let's see. And then here's the cultural garden. There's a statue there. It's actually a statue that was at the casino, and they thought it was too religious. It shouldn't be there. I said, I'll take it. It's supposed to be to the rising sun. It's facing the other way. I said, we'll just make something up for the tourists for the setting sun. But my house is in the back, the red house back there. Let's go. And this is the streetscape. Look at the bushes, the trees, the sidewalks. And there's like angled parking. What we wanted to do was create a safe place that you felt comfortable walking around. The elders housing are also on the flat part. Our elder housing were on a hill, and that might as well be a prison for some elders. And so we built the elder housing units right there. And they're handicap accessible. They have recessed garages, lots of storage, only one bedroom, big windows so they can be nosy, and there's rules that their relatives who are helping them, but really living off them, cannot live there. And they all rat each other out when something bad happens. So these are, we should have broke this up into two, but it's low-income apartments. We just did it. I had somebody say to me the other day, thank you for building those. You've made my grandmother's life a lot better because everybody living on the mattress in the living room floor has moved over here, right? And now they're on a mattress in their own bedroom on the floor. But he said, but it's a start. And these are probably $300-ish to $400 a month. This took 3 years to get the tax credits. I had to evict somebody the other day. I watched them selling meth out the window, right? And I said, hey, you're either moving out or you're going to jail. Take a pick, right? They said, who are you? I said, I'm the mayor. I'm not the mayor, but, and they just moved out because you just got to create some standards for some of this sort of stuff. I don't want one bad apple ruining the whole thing. And so I am very particular about this. I go around and say, don't park in your yard. The St. Macy, that's our neighboring town, right? So it's like a joke. This was my dad. I had to say that too, actually. Anyway, next one. That's another angle. I left this picture in here because you can see sort of the streetscape with the other building there. Right? I just think it's cool. And this is the tribal college. They have a little classroom there. They have a main campus somewhere else, but they have a classroom right in the village. This is our distribution center where it's full of cigarettes. Everybody's mad about that. This is our factory. The state of Nebraska came to give us a hard time. They didn't know we had a factory. I said, let's take a break. I want to show you something. Because if you make your own cigarettes, you don't have to pay any taxes, right? And they're like, oh my God. This is a home owned by a guy. I was actually his football coach back in the day, and he didn't quite have the money. He had to sell his car to get under the income limit, so we bought our res cars. It's called Titan Cars now. No non-Indians would buy anything from res cars, so we changed the name. But I still call it res cars. And we sell a few hundred cars a year, and we sell them at a cheaper rate so that we fix people's credit. But we sold him his car back right after he got his loan. But he was so happy. Him and his young family moved into this house, and I think the mortgage was somewhere around $130,000. And it's a finished basement, 2-car garage, probably a couple thousand square feet when it's all said and done. And I'm very proud of him. This is my neighbor's house. It's nicer than mine, strangely, but they got the big walkout there. It's fancy. I think their mortgage was somewhere around $140,000. I'm not sure, and so it really is a heck of a deal. And it's like a 5 or 6 bedroom house. That's a picture of our park. So the Ho-Chunk Village is growing up. The area to the north of it, we're going to expand. We had to buy we had to buy some land outside of town and trade it. So we've got 20 acres in the bottom there that we're going to develop, and then we have this 40 acres here that we're going to develop to expand it. Next one. And I think I'm about done here. I got one more slide maybe. This is our early childhood education. This was 2 trailers put together 3 years ago, 2 double wides, or 2 single wides making a double wide. I'm not sure. This is what it is now. We asked some rich people I knew. I said, hey, you guys you hate Indians? Are you racist? Build us one of those. They said, shut up, Lance. We'll build you one. And then we got $5 million from them. And then we've got 2.5 or 2.7 million from New Markets tax credits. I was on this board for them. I couldn't vote, but I called everybody up. I said, I voted for your stuff. And so we were able to raise 7.5 million or 7.7 million. The tribe put in another couple million. And we have the best facility. Show the next one. The next one is a close-up. This just gives you a sense of it. And so this is where our kids go now. And the tribe got a grant, and most kids go there for free now. And so we have super high quality 0 to 5-year-old education in a super high quality facility. And I'm so proud of it. I can't even say. I mean, there would have been a time when I was younger where I wouldn't have thought much of it, you know. Here's the way it goes in Winnebago, though. One of my employees said, hey, we need a daycare. And it's because it only goes till 5. And I said, damn, what's this guy got to do? I said, we just built one. She goes, what about the next niche? And I said, oh. So there's always something more, right, in a tribal community. Next one. So here's my last slide, helpful suggestions. I gave speeches on this years and years ago, but you guys, Winnebago is lucky. We have 9 council members, 3 are up every year. We never have crazy turnover. Only once or twice in 23 years have we changed all 3. The rest of it's 1 or 2. Once we changed 8, but that's more of a technical, legal problem we had. But that creates inherent stability. Ho-Chunk Inc., I said last night, I didn't know hardly anything the first year, although I was convinced I did, right? And we did some innovation year 2. We did another one year 5. We started the nonprofits year 6. We invested in the bank year 7. We started the government contracting in year 7 too. What if there had been an election and somebody said Ho-Chunk's terrible, and we have those elections every year? There's some element of that, right? I would have been fired. The next person, if there had been big changeover, would have removed us or did something totally differently. Ho-Chunk, one of the secret side effects of Ho-Chunk is our government stability is absolutely critical to it. And so if you don't stagger your terms, then you are slitting your own throats here, because everybody starts over and over and over again. And I made a joke last night that Pine Ridge has been to Winnebago 6 times. 6 times, right? And you guys tried it. I'd give it a shot again. The next one is create these. If I had to pick one thing you can do, You know, we're close to a city, so we can do the gas, we can do the cigarettes. In your instance, I'm not sure you can do that. You may not want to compete with your own entrepreneurs. But if I could pick one thing, the best way to go to 0 to 60 is government contracting. In order to do that, you have to form a holding company to do that and go through government contracting subsidiaries. We were terrible for 3 years in a row. We lost $700,000, and then we got smart. The light clicked on. We made $700,000 back the next 6 months, and last year we made $12 million in one of the subsidiaries. Right? And all that money flows back and it drives the rest of our social economic projects. So I would highly recommend that. I know some of the tribes are doing that at various stages. We're just the furthest one along, I think, in this instance. And don't do the kind like the old factories where you do one thing. The government tells you what they want. Be a highly flexible entity, right? So the government puts a target on the wall. We find a partner. We do it. I said this story last night. We launched a satellite for the State Department in Mexico. I mean, come on. I mean, we don't know how to do that. We just found a partner. They gave us a contract, and we went down there, and it was a $20 million contract for us to do that. So you've got to be flexible in your mindset. All that international stuff, all that money flows home, and we grow from that standpoint. So government contracting would be a great way to get started. And here's the other thing I think you need to do. I've been to Pine Ridge many times, and I'm not just talking about Pine Ridge, but they had a lot of entrepreneurs there. But most entrepreneurs are stuck at a certain level. You support your family, you have a few people. The Lakota Fund and some of the other CDFIs, they give you small amounts of money to get to a certain stage of development. But statistically, some of these entrepreneurs should have become killers, but they don't because they're afraid and because they don't have access to enough capital. So if you can figure out a way to get more money to your own people, you won't, as a tribal entity, you won't have to do it all, right? And I said, don't hate, stimulate, right? But if you can stimulate your entrepreneurial sector, not just the bottom level, but figure out ways to help the second level entrepreneurs become entities that don't employ 10 people, but employ 100, and then your place will just get better without having the government to do everything. If you can create that sector, it'll be a gold mine for your guys' future. All right. So figure out ways to get beyond some of the petty things and get money to your people who know what they're doing. All right. The reason tribes are so heavily into business is because we're the only entities who can accumulate enough capital to get beyond this little ceiling that we have. And trust land is a killer for that sort of thing. You can't mortgage it, you can't asset it, you have all these different problems. And so and the tribes are the only entity that can do it, but we're not necessarily the best entities to do it. So if you can get money to them, then great. You guys, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. I'm sorry for the speed of this presentation. I'm sorry I'm over, but I've enjoyed it immensely. I hope you guys get something out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lance. We have time for one, potentially two questions, and that's about it. Then we'll set up a Lance question booth in the back. Just kidding. Any one question from the audience we can direct to Lance?
I think they got it all.
It's not a question, but a comment. I follow you. My name's Jeannie, and I follow your videos what you were covering for your college students, housing for your tribal college students, and I think that is amazing. As a student of Navajo Nation going to ASU, I kept saying, why can't we have this as well? And I know it can, but kudos to that type of housing for your college students as well.
I think you guys, I put up these little videos sometimes. I put up this $500 a month mortgage house, and I got 18,000 views because people are just curious about how to do this stuff. And when you're in a tribal government, you think there's this program, but you could get the government if you've got a little bit of money to add into it. Ho Chunk Inc. can put some capital in, or our community development fund can add capital. You can get creative, and you are only limited by your imagination. Right? Somebody said we're building these fancy houses. Let's build one for someone who just has enough money to get by and just wants a better place. And so we've been building another level of houses that I didn't show here, but they're proven to be very popular. We sold them already, and we got room to do about 38 more. I'm not sure if we'll do that many, but we will. But the down payment assistance, that was just our idea. Right? It was only $5,000. Then it was $15,000. I said, we've got this valuation problem. Let's just swing for the fences. I said, hey, tribe, let us keep $1 million of our dividend, and the next 20 people get $50,000, right? We also got a grant, so they actually were getting $80,000 total for a while, right, for their down payment assistance. Crazy. Somebody moved into a brand new house for $29,000 because they were low income too. They had some additional money. And then they called me up and said, there's a hole in the yard. And I said, quit parking in your yard then. It's your problem now. So you get stuck in these program mindsets, and you get a little money, you can do whatever you want. And that's the beauty of it is, right? And you've just got to expand what you're thinking about.
Thank you for talking about the separation of economic development and politics, but thank you for talking about the separation of economic development and politics. But the question I wanted to ask, one of the things we don't do a lot in the Great Plains is investment off the reservation. You can see how close Rapid City is to a lot of the reservations. And understandably, the need on the res still is so great. But as far as a money-making potential, a lot of that right now is off-reservation. Could you talk about your off-reservation investments a little bit more specifically? For example, like if the tribe wanted to buy Ramkota, you know, what would that look like, and what would be the competitive advantage as a tribal governmental corporation doing business off the reservation?
Okay. Well, that's always been a little bit controversial for us. When we first started, our first things were off the reservation. When you do something on the reservation and you only have one bullet and it fails or doesn't grow, well, then you're just going to die or you're going to not grow. And so we went aggressive off the reservation. And then once the money started flowing in, we started building reservation-based businesses. And if they didn't work right away, we didn't stall out. We weren't done, and people in town didn't say, "Oh, see, I told you so," right? So we've always been an entity who's tried to grab and bring to the reservation. We create jobs there, headquarters there, and we do other things. And we make plenty of money on the reservation now too, but we make far more off the reservation. And I'll give you an example. We bought a housing company in Minnesota. That's Dynamic Homes, Detroit Lake, Minnesota. But the day we bought it, we converted it to a tribal company. It no longer pays federal income tax, and we use that to pay the debt on the company. And then we stretched out the terms of the BI loan guarantee too. And that actually boosted our return. Our return on investment is about 65% a year on that particular investment. We could never get that on the reservation in buying some of these things. And so we, on the reservation, we're not trying to maximize profitability either. We have a slightly different mindset. But there's no reason why you couldn't go to off-reservation. You can't be sued off the reservation. You don't pay federal income tax off the reservation. You don't pay capital gains tax off the reservation. You will pay state tax, but that's not so bad. You even have to pay property tax. But if you do it right, you don't have to pay that either, as I explained earlier.
Wow, one quick question. Nick Tilson with Thunder Valley down on Pine Ridge here. You talked about doing development on fee simple property, which is one of the things that we're doing down at Thunder Valley. And how has that been taken by your tribal leadership there? And how do you maneuver the issues of sovereignty when you're doing development on fee simple property?
Well, it hasn't been it came up originally a little bit, but it hasn't come up much. And we have people who have paid off their homes, and they can put it into trust. You can't put it in trust as a loan, but not one person has chosen to put their home into trust. They'd rather pay the taxes because trust has a side effect. You don't necessarily own it, right? You can't sell it very easily. Its only value is what you can rent it for, right? And you can't get a home equity loan against it. You can't do these things. And so we're trying to create wealth in people's pockets. And the tribe itself hasn't said much about it. This tribe still builds lots of housing on trust land. It's just a combination of things that are available in our community. It's faster, it's more flexible, it's easier to do. But that doesn't mean the trust land housing can't happen either. The other thing, though, to mention is a lot of our businesses are not on trust land, but they're within the borders of the reservation. Sometimes the state tries to say, oh, that's not in trust, you can't do that. We totally ignore them. You know, we have sovereign immunity. We're a tribal corporation. We cannot be sued. So we will say no, and they'll say yes, and we'll go, no. And then what are they going to do about it, right? And the answer is nothing. Sovereign immunity and the expansion of civil regulatory authority are blood brothers, right? You want to act tough, but if you've got sovereign immunity, you can be a little bit tougher, but you better be in business. Because the state's power is over the economic stream, right? They can threaten the guy selling to you, right? And they're more afraid of you, of the state, than they are of you. So if you're a little entrepreneur gas station owner and you want to get cigarettes tax-free, you can't buy it from the distributor because the distributor will answer to the state. But on our reservation, we're the manufacturer, we're the distributor, we're the seller of the gas, we're the blender of the fuel. And so when we put it to our gas station, we implement a tribal tax that preempts and kicks out the state tax, and the state says, you can't do that, that's white people buying there. we say, we're not doing race-based taxation. What are you going to do about it, right? And so this is why we have some issues. I'm not universally popular with some of these guys, right? But I don't care, because you know what? The alternative is poverty. Our neighboring tribe is suffering extreme poverty, and the same people who sort of say stuff about us, they drive by there and shake their heads, and they say, Winnebagos are doing good, but they don't do a damn thing to help them, right? You have to realize that you are absolutely on your own in this. And you can get help from yourself, and you can get help from other entities, but basically you are in total control of your world. And the minute you do that and quit blaming others is the minute you start going down this path of success. And so I have sort of this edge to me when I deal with the state people. And here's what's crazy is we got big enough that they don't say anything anymore. They come up and ask for our help, or I'm on some commission. I'm the chairman of the board of the Chamber of Commerce for Sioux City. That's crazy, right? Everybody's in black and white. My picture's in color. I said, that's the only reason I would do it. So we're part of the system now. So if you get big enough, they won't even mess with you. And pretty soon, they'll just like be deferring to you. So you just got to go for it, right? Anyway, thank you very much, guys. I got a little fired up there.
Thank you so much, Lance, and thank you for navigating those technical difficulties. We just wanted to see you under pressure a little bit there, Lance. Okay, so here's how we're going to change breakouts a little bit. On the schedule, it has us going from 9:30 to 10:45. We're actually going to go from 10 to 11. So speakers, please make those adjustments in your breakouts. You're going to have a little bit less time, but we're trying to get back on track. Our breakouts, again, are going to be in the same rooms that they were yesterday. So the side rooms that flank this big room here. So we're going to have governance in room Sylvan 1. We're going to have infrastructure in Sylvan 2, financing in Legion 1, and resources in Legion 2. And then we're going to have a quick break, 11 to 11:15. That'll be out in the hallway. I think you'll have refreshments and goodies out there. And then the second set of breakouts will start at 11:15 and go to 12:15. So just a little bit different there. And those are going to be in various rooms. So please make your way to the breakouts and be respectful of our speakers' time. The quicker we get into breakouts, the quicker they can start and y'all can start learning. So again, please make your ways to the breakouts as quickly as possible. And speakers, please adjust your time. Facilitators, please adjust your time. Thank you all. I've been asked to call the Oglala Sioux Tribe Executive Board members to the front. So Darla, Donna, so if we can have the OST Executive Board members to the front. James. Oh, you're here. Jim. Huh? I don't know. I seen Darla. Is Darla here? Oh, okay. I can't see her. Donna. I don't know if I've seen Donna this morning. If folks can make their way to their breakouts, that would be great so our speakers can get started. If you're on a panel, please make your way. Some of our facilitators are waiting for panel members. So if you can make your way to your respective rooms, that would be great. I believe governance, analyzing business opportunities in Sylvan 1. That's Dr. Miriam Jorgensen. Infrastructure, cultivating human capital. The speakers for that, they're in room Sylvan 2. That's Sid Colomb and Nick Tilson. So if you can get to your rooms. Financing, economic impact studies, Sherry Rath, Matt Robinson, Bruce Jones. You all are in Legion 1. Resources, business networks is Dustin Bayard, Mary Walks Over Ice, Joseph Cerna, and Ivan Sorbal. If you all can make your way to Legion 2, you have folks waiting for you.